Front end is something where everything your user sees and interact inside your web browser. Chrome, your Google Chrome, your Mozilla Firefox, Internet Explorer, Safari, Opera, and so on and so forth. Everything your user can see and interact is what we call front end. And front end is built out of three major things. These three things: HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. You can't run away from these three. Okay, for any web applications, Taobao, Lazada, everything, they are built from HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language, which they define the structures of the website. Like, for example, the widgets. How do you want to create the structures of, for these divisions I want to display what kind of informations, and the navigation bar and the footer site index. All those are defined by HTML, the structures or the skeleton of the website. And JavaScript, which is the middle one, JS or JavaScript. So no, whatever there's interactions or actions, it will be handled by JavaScript. For example, animations, image sliding, pop-up, submitting your login credentials, user and passwords, and leaving a comment or hitting a like for Instagram pictures or even Facebook. Those are handled by JavaScript. Any actions or interactions, everything is handled by JavaScript. As for the next one, the last one, blue color, which is the CSS. CSS there's a short form for cascading style sheet. So CSS handles on theme. For example, you want to build a minimalism theme. How do you want to place your images, the font type, the font size, and what is the background color? All of these are handled by CSS. So a web applications that split out into different components, the three major components, and then they handle on their own. So HTML only defines the structures of the web applications, JavaScript handles on actions, interactions, and CSS handles on the theme. So you just need to make sure on these three stuff, and then you are able to build a very simple static website up. So over here is what you can see in HTML. So HTML, we have HTML tag, and at the right side of the slide, you can see there's a div class container fluid px-4. So I want you to focus on the div. The first div, and then can you see there's a h1, h3, and p. So all of these are HTML tag, a hypertext markup language tag. And for any website, they are built from all these tags. You can't run away from that. So later I will show you how do you view on the source code for any web applications. And for HTML tag, there's always an open tag and a close tag. A closed tag will always end with the slash, the front slash on the HTML tag itself. For example, the first div that you can see, it ends with the last front slash div. So whenever you put all the contents within the div, which means that we create a container outside or a box outside to secure or to hold all the contents within that structure. So this is how we create the skeleton or the structures of the website. And we move back to the left side. You can see that there's 4 pictures and over there. And then each picture, they have their own title and the course and the name. So that is one simple structure or a container for that particular place. So this is how we define the structures. But over here, there's some style happenings inside here. So later I will show you on how does it looks like for a pure HTML without any CSS and the HTML included with CSS. Now, the next one will be CSS, cascading style sheet. Can you see on the right side, we have body and then we have color. So in in web applications for CSS, we can define the setting for the style in CSS by using HTML tag or ID, unique ID, and then as well as the class name. So for the first one, body is the HTML tag inside a page. So we want to set the whole page to have the color of 72, 72, 72. So the first one, color RGB, stands for red, green, blue. And then 72 is the color code. Where this color code will give us a very white to a little bit gray color. And then the next one, can you see there's a dot item? So dot items tell us that this is a class, and then img is an image HTML tag. How do you differentiate a CSS HTML tag? The CSS for HTML tag and CSS for class is by the first dot. So when there's a dot in front of the class name item, then this is a class that you can reuse for all throughout the pages or throughout the whole web applications. So over here is dot item and image. I want to set the image with 100% width, and then I want to change the cursor to pointer whenever I move my mouse cursor to the image itself. And then the last one will be the locations, which is a class name as well. So when we set the location, can you see that there's a text transform uppercase? And then look at the left side. Can you see the sightseeing, Pahang, group activity KL, entire apartment, 1 bed, guest house, 12 beds. So over here is we change the location and then we transform the text to uppercase. If you compare to the previous example over here, can you see that sightseeing, Pahang is different colors and then they are not in uppercase. After we change this one, then by setting the CSS, we are able to change the style of the text, even text font family, and then we also change the font weight to bold, as well as the font size and color. So by setting the theme, or you just place the style that you want for the class name, you can directly reuse for the whole web applications. So for example, over here is I just need to update on locations and then change the color to blue, or the image, the description for the image there will change, the color will change to blue for the font size, the font color. And the last one will be JavaScript. So JavaScript is something on actions. For example, you want to, over here is like a very simple GIF where it shows like when you use a mouse to hover all the images and then there's a box, the border will change. And when I want to submit a form, this everything is handled by JavaScript. As I mentioned, any actions or interactions is always handled by JavaScript. And at the bottom, this is how you code in JavaScript itself. For this webinar, we won't touch much about JavaScript, but we will show you on how can you build from HTML, how can you build a Airbnb clone by using HTML, JavaScript, and CSS. So a quick recap, just now we went through HTML, the hypertext markup language, which define the structures of the website, and the JavaScript will be handles on the actions and interactions on the website itself. CSS will be the one that define the theme of the whole website to style the website. That is what we everything happens in front end.